we'll start adding elements that are farthest away first, these bushes in the background, and they are mostly going to be really bright green gold. So you want to use a small brush, and I'm going to start with this one that's farthest away. I'm just adding a little water here. I'm not coming up all the way to the edge, and I'm not putting in a lot of water, just a little. Just because I want this green gold to kind of flow. Then once I have a little paint on my brush, I go up to the edge and I'm painting in that edge, and you can see how the paint just starts to flow into the water. So I really have to do very little painting for these. They kind of take care of themselves. This one, if you look at this one, this is actually two bushes. There's one that's kind of pushed back, and I'll show you how to do that. So I'm just going to add just a little water here, grab a little paint, go right up to the edge, and let that paint flow. And once I've got it filled in with the green, to push it back a little, I'm going to make it just slightly darker. So you could grab your phthalo turquoise, phthalo blue, either one, doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to drop some of that color right into the green gold. And that makes it just one shade darker. So it's still brighter than your background here, but it's not quite going to be as light as this bush in front. Now because this one's wet, we want to skip over this one, let this dry before we paint this one. So we'll move ahead to this one, add a little water, grab some of my green gold, paint right up to that edge, and just let that green gold flow into that water. Because this is a little bigger bush, I might give it a little shadow here in the corner, just for the heck of it. Okay, so I'm still letting that one dry. I'm going to move over here to this one, this bigger bush here. Adding a little water and going into my green. And I'm going to add a little shadow to this one. Maybe even a little of this mauve. You can see how when I'm doing this, I really take my attention on every single little bush, and I don't try to rush anything. I just kind of get lost in each one. Really focus on what I'm painting right now. So this one is wet still, so I'll skip over this one and do these smaller bushes. And they are exactly the same as these, so just a little bit of a little water, add the green, and you can add a little shadow to each one as well. come back to this forward bush here and just paint it in with my green. And very last bush, this area is now dry. You want to make sure it's dry first. So now I can paint in this bush here. All right, it is looking lovely. I just love it. I love these colors together. So now we're going to work on these bushes down here. And these are pretty simple. They're pretty much the same way that you did the mountains, except that we're going to use more of the green. So I'm wetting this area first. And I kind of work in sections, so I'll do this section and then I'll do this one. It's just easier. Actually, I think I'll start. I'm gonna start with, I've got it wet, and I'm gonna start at the top with my green gold, just like we did for the smaller ones. So lay in a little green gold, and then I'll start adding a lot more shadow to these than I did for any of these. So it's okay to go a little darker. I'm just grabbing, this is the phthalo turquoise. I can also go into phthalo blue. And it may look a little wonky, too much of a separation or like a hard line there, but kind of let the paint flow before you start trying to manipulate anything. So kind of get some more color in here, and then you can manipulate what's there. As long as it stays wet, you can really manipulate. So I've added green gold, phthalo turquoise, phthalo blue, mauve, and then phthalo again here at the bottom. And now I can come in and just start to shape that top. I might even add a little pink here too. Just a few droplets of pink. So I'm going to give this a little tilt and just start to add some little droplets of water just to push that pigment down. And it'll just start to run. Not a lot of water, just little droplets. Just let it lightly run. Maybe add a little more green into this darker area. And just let that be. So then we'll start on this one. Same process. Just gonna get these wet. Just kind of rubbing out some of these edges where I painted into the bush. And this paint will start to run over if it's still wet. It's not a big deal. So I've got it all wet. Now I'll come back in with my green gold on top. So now I'm gonna do gravity again. Just come back with little drops of water and run it right along that top edge. Let it start to move down. And there you go. I'm gonna let those dry. And now all we have to do now are our trees and our house, and this will be a finished masterpiece. Oh, and we'll put in our path.